PlayStation 5 Pro, man, officially revealed, officially unveiled, coming out in November. I believe November 12th. And pre-orders going live on October 10th. Officially unveiled by PlayStation and Sony Interactive Entertainment, really under Sony. And boy, I tell you, man, I'm not gonna lie. The reception of this thing has not been well. It has not been good at all. Um, Look around on the internet, look online, check social media, check Twitter, all of that, and you will find very easily tons of negative sentiment surrounding this thing, boy. From basically all aspects of it, whether it's the performance, whether it's the graphics, whether it's the games that they decided to put on display, the pricing, the suspected availability, what comes in the box, etc., 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 man. And we're gonna get into it. But before all of that, what's up, y'all boys? It's Bucks. Welcome back to the channel. And like I said, man, today we're talking about PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, excuse me for being a little late to the party. I know. It's not breaking news or nothing. It's got announced a little while back. But reason why I'm late to it is because I was having a pretty busy week. And so I had to handle my stuff before I could come through for y'all. Now, listen, man. We're going to get into this PlayStation blog post. And then we're also going to talk about a bunch of the different stuff that got unveiled during the it wasn't a showcase, but it was like a technical deep dive or something like that with Mark Cerny. Of course, y'all should be seeing the gameplay, not the gameplay. Y'all should be seeing the visuals on screen. The video should be playing in the background. And yeah, man, PlayStation 5 Pro. It got revealed, it got unveiled, everybody sees it and knows what's going on. Kind of like what I was saying in the last video. In one of my last videos, I was doing September predictions for Nintendo and PlayStation. And PlayStation, I had mentioned that we were anticipating PlayStation 5 Pro. And lo and behold, where there's smoke, there's fire. You see all of the different rumors came to fruition. And we've got the unveiling of PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, getting into a discussion about the system itself. First and foremost, I just want to talk about the design real quick. Design real simple. At least simple in the sense that it's just a continuation of what they've been doing. Of course, the PS5 itself, the whole family lineup looks a little wonky. Since the jump from day one, it's been looking like a spaceship, looking like it's ready to blast off. I remember seeing memes of like people memeing about how it looked kind of like the top of Cell's head. If you ever watched Dragon Ball Z, or if you a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, then it kind of looked like a white version of Seto Kaiba's suit. It looked like his fit. I digress. But in terms of design, it's basically the same chassis. It looks like an elongated chassis or elongated version of the PlayStation 5 Slim chassis. And because they're doing that, it looks like they're going to be able to put the same faceplates from PS5 Slim onto PlayStation 5 Pro, which is pretty good. So you're not going to need to buy brand new cover plates for the system if you want to customize. You should be able to swap them out, hot swap it, and all of that stuff. Onto the topic of the actual unveiling. The video that they had, the technical showcase with Mark Cerny, their lead architect. That showcase was pretty interesting, honestly. Mark Cerny was in there doing his thing, and you know how he likes to talk. He kind of puts on this he puts on this showcase, and he puts on this cadence and talks in a specific way with his voice, and kind of makes himself talk like this for his showcases and his technical analyses and his deep dives and all that different stuff. Now, I don't know if he genuinely talks like that on a day-to-day basis, or if that's just kind of his speaking voice or his projection voice for when he's doing these showcases or doing presentations and all of that stuff. But it's always interesting seeing how he decides to portray stuff. But the actual showcase itself, like the actual presentation of PlayStation 5 Pro, they talk about a couple of different things. One of those being that they're focusing on improving the GPU. They're making it an expanded GPU with higher capability. Right here, for example, they got the upgraded GPU. With PlayStation 5 Pro, we're upgrading the GPU to a GPU that has 67% more compute units than current PS5 and 28% faster memory. Overall, this enables up to 45% faster rendering for gameplay. So basically, the integrated graphics card that's inside the PS5, because it doesn't have a discrete one, so it's not like you could plug and play it like if it was a PC. But basically, how the system works is they have a APU, which is essentially on the motherboard. It has both the CPU and the GPU on the same motherboard, typically on one side and then the other side. And if you've ever watched a teardown video of PS5, then you'll see what I'm talking about. I don't remember if the PS5, because I know, for example, with the Switch, it's officially called the SoC, which is System on a Chip. I don't know if it's considered technically the same or if SoCs and APUs are technically one and the same. But I know for a fact that the PS5 utilizes the APU, and yeah, the GPU portion of the GPU portion that is embedded onto the motherboard has gotten larger and is going to be more capable within this thing. Beyond that, they're also targeting advanced ray tracing, and they're going to be doing AI driven upscaling. And if I remember correctly, those three things together are going to be what they consider their big three. That's what they're calling it. That's what they're considering it. They're the larger GPU, the ray tracing improvements, and then the AI upscaling, which is essentially going to be their it's essentially going to be their implementation of like PlayStation's version of NVIDIA DLSS, deep learning super sampling, or AMD FSR, which for the life of me I cannot remember the FSR acronym full name. But for PlayStation, that third one, that last part, is going to be PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. And that's how they're going to be handling their upgrades over base PS5 with PS5 Pro. And I'm not going to lie to you, the upgrades that they're doing, they're shaky at best. I feel like, you know how it is. You know what people be arguing. Law of diminishing returns, the fact that we're pushing for realistic graphics, and we've gotten closer and closer and closer to genuine realism, photorealism in games, is resulting in graphics advancements being less and less eye-popping. It's not something that you could take a look at and easily point out without having to do any kind of analysis, like, oh, at first glance the naked eye could easily detect what's different about it. Once again, in general, the PS5 Pro is supposedly going to be more of a performance boosting machine as opposed to a graphics enhancement machine. Of course, it's doing a little bit of both, but once again, performance boosting is like its purpose. But just in general, this thing this thing is coming out in such an intriguing time for a number of reasons. But I said it earlier, and I want to expand upon how people are not rocking with it. In general, the sentiment around it has been super negative. Why? Very simple. One, the price. Easily the price. Two, that law of diminishing return that I had kind of alluded to. And three, the game's output. The fact that we don't even really know what the slate of PlayStation games is going to be looking like for the next couple of years, down the stretch of the rest of the generation. Yet we're getting this system that is essentially trying to deliver on some of the promises that the system, or in really the generation, was proclaiming at the start. For example, if you've got an original PS5 box laying around, or if you look up on the internet, you'll see it. The PS5 box used to say 8K on it. Yet there are basically no 8K games on PS5 because it basically can't run any. I mean, of course, there's a couple. Like, I think there's one game called The Tourist that does its best to try to push for 8K or close to it. I think technically, if you've got a compatible TV, you could watch like Netflix or YouTube in 8K. But in terms of 8K support, fully fledged support on a game to game basis, man, that it don't exist. It does not exist. Um, and yeah, man, in terms of the price, let's go through those three things. The price. $699 US. $799 British pounds. In the hundreds of thousands in yen, etc. This thing gonna cost an arm and a leg. You feel me? It's going to be expensive. And honestly, it's substantially more expensive than I thought it was going to be. And evidently, it's more expensive than most people thought it was going to be. Because I remember when PS4 came out, or PS4 Pro came out, I remember the pricing structure of that and how it gives way or makes precedent for PS5 Pro pricing structure. People thinking, oh, they not gonna raise the price for real. They not going, you know what I'm saying? They not gonna up the price that much. And in general, people are mostly expecting the console to be marginally more expensive, maybe upwards of like $100 more expensive. But I mean, in general, I think for most people, like across the board, most people I've seen, most places I saw people topping out at around 650, like 649.99 US, and then plus tax, of course, but around $650 MSRP was typically the high end that I saw people anticipating for this thing. So the fact that it's coming in at a whopping $200 more, and it generally starts to raise the eyebrow, it starts to pose and beg the question of whether or not you should be buying this or just contemplating getting a gaming PC of some kind. is why this thing is is getting slammed on the internet, bro. Take a look at any comment section, look at any reply thread, check Twitter, check social media. You'll see it. It's getting body slammed. I'm talking Batista bomb, RKO'd, hit with basically every wrestling finisher that you could think of, because law of diminishing returns. Um yeah, man, they're putting out this system to sort of cover their bases for some games. They're not running well. Some games they don't really look very good, especially if the game has a fidelity or performance mode toggle. Click the toggle, switch the mode, go into performance mode, and i.e., i.e., a Black Myth Wukong, a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a couple of other games that have come out lately. And these games genuinely do not look very good. Like, either you're running it in fidelity mode, targeting 30 FPS, and the game looks pretty good, but it's 30 FPS on a system that at one point in time had 8K on the side of the box or on the front of the box. And in terms of performance mode, you turn on that performance mode, it starts targeting 60 FPS, and on a case by case basis, some of these games look like they got Vaseline smeared all over the screen. And even if that's the case, the graphics get turned all the way down, the game still isn't hitting its target, 60 FPS. For example, Black Myth Wukong. Wukong has no game mode where it's consistently 60 FPS on PS5. That game mode doesn't exist. There are 3 game modes in it. I forget the names exactly, what the names are, but there are 3 game modes in Black Myth Wukong. You cannot get 60 FPS consistent in that game. I think even if you look up at the sky, the best you'll get is lightly tapping at the 60 FPS line and then dipping back down periodically. If the PS5 Pro, especially for that price, cannot try to mitigate the law of diminishing returns and try to more substantiate the performance that we're getting out of these games, then this thing will have no purpose for existing. Which kind of leads me into my third point is, because we don't really know what the lineup is for PlayStation for the rest of this year or next year and beyond, you know, aside from, I guess, if you took a glance at a couple of those leaks, like the Insomniac leak or whatever. If you didn't look at any of that stuff, we don't really know what Sony is doing moving forward. And so get this, let me paint the picture. They're putting out a upgraded version of their system in a generation where the community support, the public reception, I mean, just the general sentiment around Sony has been taking a nosedive basically since the start of the gen, if I'm being completely honest. After 2019, nothing was the same for PlayStation. Of course, they're not getting much competition from Xbox, which sucks, but that's why competition is important. And we don't know their games lineup going forward for next couple of years. The system itself is arguable as to whether or not it should even be a thing, because although in some games it's struggling to hit particular performance metrics, Of course, there's always the argument about whether or not these developers are pushing the envelope in the wrong areas and are failing to optimize their games properly, because the base PS5 and, on the other side of the coin, the Xbox Series X, are legitimately capable machines. It's not like they're anemic like the PS4 or the Xbox One when they dropped in comparison to the PC landscape back when those generations started. Because remember, hypothetically, if let's say like the 30 series cards were to have gotten a 6 to 9 month delay because of, I don't know, something along the lines of like production issues or whatever, or like the pandemic that had happened, something fairly plausible, then base PS5, for example, would have actually launched and been highly comparative and highly relative to the high end, damn near top end PC gaming market. Because in that kind of a hypothetical, PS5 would be comparable to like the 2070, maybe 2070 Super, in a world where the 30 series cards didn't exist yet because they didn't drop. You get the point. But I digress. Let me keep painting this picture, because if all of that is the case, this system is questionable why it even exists. Some people think that we need it because games as of late have not been hitting their performance metrics, but otherwise, we don't know what you even have to offer going forward. Your presentation, you were showing off old titles. These were not new games. I mean, it was more like a 50-50 split, because they show stuff like Spider-Man, they show stuff like Ratchet and Clank, but at the same time, they're also showing old stuff like Last of Us. And it's like, you got all these questions, all these concerns surrounding the future of PlayStation, the state of PlayStation, the generation itself, and then Sony thinks that they got the gall. They have the nerve to come out with a system that, all expenses included, if you want, like, let's say the vertical stand, you want the disk drive, things like that, plus tax, especially depending where in the world you're getting your version of the system, it's genuinely pushing a band. It's pushing $1,000. Ridiculous. What are they doing? You feel me? What in the hell is Sony doing? They supposed to be the market leader. They supposed to be ushering a new generation of console gaming. And I ain't gonna lie, it's looking like console gaming is on its last legs with decisions like these at the forefront. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And with a price like that, I mean, I'm looking over at my base PS5 and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we got a couple more years in us, bro. You're not going nowhere. you're not you're not going nowhere, because I don't know about y'all boys, but I'm not dropping no damn $700 for a maybe upgrade, a system that may or may not be able to hit 60 FPS, and let's say GTA 6 coming out next year. Because lo and behold, trust and believe that when that game drop, remember, PS5 Pro, most people that's gonna cop this are hardcore, like die-hard early adopters for PlayStation products, period. Right? If you're buying this system, call it coincidence, call it whatever you want. More likely than not, you're gonna be buying GTA. As a matter of fact, you might be buying it for GTA, to try to play that game as best as you can on console, especially since that game doesn't have a PC version at launch. PC version is probably not coming out for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years after. If that's the case, then if you're going to be the one buying it, then you're going to want this thing to be providing you the best possible experience. And under those circumstances, having to drop that much money, you're going to want this thing to be running flawlessly. But I wouldn't be surprised. You can't say color me shocked if something like a GTA 6 legitimately pushes the envelope so much that it still has performance issues. Under those circumstances, you're going to see a lot of angry ass people. But yeah, man, that's it for me. Those are my thoughts. Let me know y'all's in the comment section below. Let me know what y'all think about what Sony got going on, what PS5 Pro is bringing to the table, what y'all thinking about the state of the industry as a whole right now, because it's looking kind of crazy. And if you ask me, I think that there's definitely a, not a power vacuum, but definitely a easy claim to the throne right now. I'm kind of side-eyeing Nintendo. As a matter of fact, I might make this my next video. Nintendo, you got you've got the most phenomenal chance here. I won't even call it an opportunity, because if you go based off of sales, you could actually make the argument that Nintendo's already at the top of the game and blah blah blah. But bro, if they decide to capitalize like that next Nintendo Direct, which should be still within this month in September, that next Nintendo Direct might change everything. But I digress, man. What do y'all think in the comment section below? Go ahead and let me know down there. Like the vid if you like the vid. Sub if you rock with the content. I would appreciate it. It really helps the channel. And I'll catch y'all boys in the next one, all right?